Hi, I'm Bob McCoskrie. During the cannabis referendum in 2020, we got the impression that the media wasn't giving us a fair go, that the advocates who were promoting a yes vote to legalising cannabis were getting more coverage, more commentary, and a favourable push from the media. So after the referendum, with that superb result of the no vote winning, much to the surprise of the media and political elite, we commissioned an analysis of the media coverage. And the analysis looked at more than 400 New Zealand-based media articles and opinion pieces from during the debate, and we wanted to assess the extent to which the media coverage as a whole provided balanced coverage of both sides of the debate. Did it? Consistent with the New Zealand Media Council's first principle of accuracy, fairness and balance. Well, what we found didn't surprise me, but it should disturb all of us. More than a third of all headlines promoted the yes position, while only 18% promoted the no position. A third of all articles were entirely yes biased, versus just 6% being entirely no biased. 51% of all op-eds were yes biased, while only 27% presented a no position. Advocates promoting the yes position were quoted twice as often as no advocates. And more than half of the 203 news articles didn't quote anybody from the no side of the campaign, compared to only 64 articles, just a third, not quoting someone from the yes side. Now, while the no position was mentioned in 44% of stories, it was typically deep in the story or a very small focus of the overall article. As you can see, the yes position in the cannabis debate received a strongly biased share of the media coverage during the campaign period. We would give the media a D- for their coverage. It was disappointing that a number of media outlets and journalists pushed one side of the cannabis debate so biasly. The media, in my view, should report the debate, not lead it. It also shows just how miraculous it was that the no vote still succeeded. Now recently there's been a massive debate on another controversial bill, the conversion therapy bill. It attracted the most written submissions to a select committee ever, more than 100,000 submissions. But an in-depth analysis of the media coverage of this bill has found a similar problem to the cannabis referendum coverage. This may not surprise you, again, but support for the law received a heavily biased share of the media coverage. Now, the analysis looked at 126 New Zealand-based media articles and opinion pieces, and biases were assessed again using 4 specific measures: the headline used, the images used, the number of people quoted within each piece arguing one or other side of the debate, and the proportion of content arguing each side of the issue. Here were the key findings. Overall, 78% of all news coverage across 4 measures surveyed was supportive of the law change, compared to 22% identifying concerns or objections. But drilling down further, 40% of all articles were entirely supportive, versus just one article that was entirely opposed. There was no balance. It was one way or the other. 57% of all news articles did not quote someone expressing concerns or objections. 66% of all op-eds were yes biased. Only 12% were no biased. And a third of all headlines supported the proposed bill. Only 6% opposed it. News articles quoted those supporting the proposed bill twice as often as those expressing concerns or opposition. Politicians who did express opposition were regularly referred to with derogatory or critical comments such as cringeworthy, shameful, transphobic, or old dinosaur. Not one spokesperson from a lobby group opposing the bill was ever quoted in a story. I think Family First got a one-sentence mention towards the bottom of a story. By contrast, the yes advocates frequently included Labour and Green Party MPs along with activists. 5 of the opinion pieces in support of the bill were from one activist alone. Several other LGBT groups were given the opportunity to voice their support, along with a small number of personal testimonies. Now, 5 church leaders were quoted as having concerns on the potential impact on parents and pastors. But there were no personal testimonials from the no side, despite the significant number of personal stories shared at the oral submission stage. Given that there were a massive 107,000 submissions on both sides of the bill, it's concerning that hardly any no advocates were given the opportunity to be part of the conversation. In fact, here's an example from one Stuff website article. It starts with a video supporting the bill, then an image supporting the bill. Then there's a podcast from Radio New Zealand which is very favourable towards the bill, interviewing 2 advocates for the bill. Then 3 images showing advocates for the bill. And then the chair of the Select Committee, who demonstrated clear bias towards the bill during the oral submission stage. Then the minister promoting the bill. Yep, in just one article, 6 images, 1 audio, and 1 video featured at the top, all supporting the bill. Oh, by the way, 1 sentence in this whole article opposed the bill. But that was only in the context of National MP Simon Bridges saying that he believed all oral submissions should be heard. There was no presentation of opposing arguments. It was a truly shockingly biased piece of coverage, but not out of the ordinary. In fact, here was a tweet from one very excited journalist, also with Stuff, when the law was passed. Held back from yelling yes in an empty office when the bill was finally passed. Okay, the overall bias in the media coverage is a deeply concerning observation about the way the mainstream media covered this important social debate. It's disappointing that a number of media outlets and journalists pushed one side of the debate so biasly. As we said with the cannabis referendum, the media should be reporting the full debate, not leading it, and then leave the public to come to their own conclusion. We should be able to trust the mainstream media to participate in social debate in a non-partisan way. And unfortunately, this just reinforces the claim that the legacy media is state-sponsored media. They push a government narrative. Now look, that may not be true, but this type of biased coverage does nothing to help their cause. And that declining trust is reflected in research, like this recent report from AUT's Research Centre for Journalism, Media and Democracy. They found that less than half of us trust the news overall, and a little bit more trust, although not much more, with sites we regularly use. And a whopping 94% of us were concerned, either extremely, very or somewhat concerned, with stories when facts are spun or twisted to push a particular agenda. And 90% were concerned about poor journalism, factual mistakes, dumbed down stories and misleading headlines. More than half, 55%, were extremely or very concerned about this aspect. You know, I would like to be able to trust the media. I used to be in the media. But it's time the mainstream media worked harder to ensure their coverage is consistent with the New Zealand Media Council's first principle of accuracy, fairness and balance. We gave the media a D- for their coverage of the cannabis referendum debate. For the conversion therapy debate, sadly, it's an F. With an additional comment, must do better.